इश्करण भंडारी, वो भी सरदार है। तो उससे आप उसको मैं परिचय कराता हूँ, आप देख लीजिए। परंतु इसमें तो निश्चित तौर पर कुछ ना कुछ करना है, क्योंकि सारा देश में मैंने देखा ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार के बारे में कभी मुझे लड़ना होता है, परंतु इसके बारे में मैंने कहीं भी नहीं देखा। सबको सहमति है, इसमें जल्दी से होना चाहिए और इसके लिए एक जरूर करना चाहिए। दूसरा है कि हम लोगों को याद रखना चाहिए, क्योंकि पिछले दिनों में मैं जब लंदन गया था तो वहाँ कई गुरुद्वारा हैं, वहाँ हिंदुओं को आने नहीं देते, परंतु जब मैं आया तो उन्होंने सुना, उन्होंने कहा कि आपके लिए एक्सेप्शन करेंगे। तो मुझे लेक्चर देने के लिए बुलाया था। मैंने कहा मैं नहीं अकेला आऊँगा, मैं आरएसएस और विश्व हिंदू परिषद को भी लेकर आऊँगा। वो भी तैयार हो गए। तो फिर मैंने वहाँ जाकर फिर जो भी मैंने बात की, बाकी लोगों ने भी बात की। उसके बाद अब हमारे संघ के, आरएसएस के, विश्व हिंदू परिषद लोग अनेक गुरुद्वार में जाने लगे, बड़े प्रसन्न हैं। उस समय एक ही मांग रखी थी कि कई बबर खलसा के लोग पाकिस्तान में जो हैं वो उम्र बहुत हो गई उनकी, अब वो पाकिस्तान की असली साजिश समझते हैं। जहाँ जो ये नौजवान हैं और सिख, वो अभी तक उस राय के नहीं है, परंतु जो उम्र में ज़्यादा हो गए वो समझते हैं कि अब इंडिया को आना चाहिए। तो दोवाल साहब की मदद से हमने 61 लोगों को इंडिया आने के लिए व्यवस्था की है। दूसरा है कि कई लोग ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार के बाद पकड़े गए थे, अंदर रखे, सजा भी उन्होंने पूरा कर ली है, तब भी जेल में। इसका लिस्ट मैंने अभी जसवीर सिंह रोडे आए थे सिख डेलीगेशन के साथ, तो उस समय हमें लिस्ट मिली, मैंने राजनाथ को दिया है और राजनाथ ने मुझे चिट्ठी भी लिखा कि वी आर एग्जामिनिंग। मैंने कहा कि स्टेट गवर्नमेंट भी कई लोगों के लिए रिकमेंड भी किया है इनको छोड़ना चाहिए, तो इन लोगों को भी छोड़ने के लिए करना चाहिए। कई लोगों का पासपोर्ट पड़ा हुआ है 30 साल से, तो ये रिस्टोर करना चाहिए। कई लोग बाहर हैं, वो यहाँ आने चाहते हैं, उनको भी ये सारी चीज़ों को करते रहना है। मूल बात तो ये 84 राइट्स की है, लेकिन बाकी जो जख्म पैदा की है उसको भी ठीक करने के लिए हम लोग को इस प्रकार के कदम उठाने चाहिए। और मैंने पार्लियामेंट में अभी एक रेजोल्यूशन मूव की है, जो कांग्रेस पार्टी बड़ी पसीना निकल रही है उनकी। मैंने कहा दिस हाउस रिग्रेट्स द ऑपरेशन ब्लू स्टार। तो ये पार्लियामेंट सरकार तो नहीं लाएगी, तो मुझे प्राइवेट मेंबर्स रेजोल्यूशन लाना होता है। प्राइवेट मेंबर्स रेजोल्यूशन में बैलेटिंग में होती है। मेरी 3 नंबर है, अभी 1 हुआ पूरा, नंबर 1 का पूरा हो गया, नंबर 2 पूरा हो जाएगा। तो मैं समझता हूँ कि इस सर्दी में ये रेजोल्यूशन आएगी चर्चा के लिए, और मैं समझता हूँ कि पार्लियामेंट एक बार ऐसे रेजोल्यूशन पास कर दे कि इन रिट्रोस्पेक्ट एंड रिव्यू वी आर ऑफ द ओपिनियन that Operation Blue Star was a mistake and therefore this house regrets the Operation Blue Star। ये हो जाएगा तो ये हिस्ट्री को थोड़ा आगे के लिए हम लोगों के लिए अच्छा होगा। ये ऐसे कदम हम उठाते जाना चाहिए। वैसे सिखों और हिंदुओं में या जैनों में, बुद्धिस्ट में कोई ऐसा कहानी नहीं है इसको छोड़कर, ये भी अपना नहीं है। मैंने तो नरेंद्र मोदी को भी कहा था कि हम इंदिरा गांधी का बोझा हमारे सिर में क्यों ले, हम इट इज़ नॉट ए नेशनल इवेंट, इट वाज ए इवेंट ऑफ द कांग्रेस पार्टी। और यदि हमारी रात में होती तो ये रोज प्रोपेगेंडा करते हैं। हमें इसमें डिसोशिएट करना चाहिए, ओपनली कहना चाहिए कि अल्टरनेटिव बेस थे, और जो पेपर्स अभी तक सीक्रेट हैं उसको बाहर निकाल कर पब्लिक रिकॉर्ड में रखनी चाहिए। तो बट ये मैं कह सकता हूँ कि आपके बिना तो हम लोग लड़ नहीं सकते, तो इसलिए हम आपको छोड़ने वाले नहीं हैं। स्वॉर्ड आर्म ऑफ इंडिया इज द सिख, और सिखों को नीच करने के लिए नीचे दिखाने के लिए बहुत प्रयास हुआ है अंग्रेज काल में। ये जो 12 बजे चलती है ना, ये कैसा आया? 12 बजे रात को गुरु गोविंद सिंह के लोग जा करके महिलाओं को छुड़वाते थे, ठीक 12 बजे। तो इसीलिए उस 12 बजे को मजाक कर दिया था, और हम लोग भी थे, इन्हें सोचे बिना हमारे देश में इसको चला रहे थे। तो कई लोग कहते थे तुम्हें पता है ये 12 बजे की कैसा आया, ये अंग्रेज़ों ने हमारे ऊपर थोपा है। तो ये कई चीज़ें हैं जिसके लिए हमें यानी लोगों को समझाना होगा। एक भिखारी आपको सिख दिखाई नहीं पड़ेगा, आपके लंगर के लिए कोई भी कभी भी जा सकता है। तो ऐसे कौम जो हमारे देश में अपने अपनी जो शक्ति है, जो हमारे लिए सीमा पर एक फौज है, ऐसे लोग। और इंडस्ट्री में सारी चीज़ों में लोग पहले मजाक करते थे कि मर्सिडीज बेंज एक एम्बेसी के लोग अमृतसर जा रहे थे, रास्ते में रुक गया तो एक छोटा सा शॉप में सरदार जी बैठे थे, उन्होंने उसको ठीक कर दिया था। जो वो सोचता था कोई भी ठीक नहीं कर सकता, कहाँ उस रूरल एरिया में मर्सिडीज बेंज को ठीक करेंगे। इस प्रकार से सरदारों ने इंडस्ट्रीज, छोटी छोटी इंडस्ट्रीज बनाई। लेकिन आपके डेवलपमेंट में जो एग्रीकल्चर की ऑल्टरनेटिव डेवलप होने चाहिए थे, बॉर्डर स्टेट के नाम पर जो उपेक्षा हुई वो भी ख़त्म होना चाहिए। अब हम लोगों को ये हिस्ट्री कैसे भूले जाए, और इसके लिए हम लोग क्या क्या पहल कर सकते हैं, हमारी सरकार और हमारी समाज, उसको सोचना चाहिए। और अब बड़े खतरे आने हैं, हमारी देश भी आगे बढ़ेगी, क्योंकि हमारी पोटेंशियल जो यंगर जनरेशन की है, उससे लगता है कि 15-20 साल में हम चाइना से भी आगे चले जाएंगे और अमेरिका को इनोवेशन में टक्कर देंगे। जैसे आज हमारे सॉफ्टवेयर में हम दे रहे हैं उनको टक्कर, वैसे अनेक फील्ड में हम दे सकते हैं। तो इसीलिए जो एकता बनानी है हमारे देश में, इसके लिए जो हमें करना चाहिए, जितना जूझ जाना चाहिए, जितना हमारे बाजू को आपको सामने करके आपको हाथ मिलाने के लिए कोशिश करनी चाहिए, वो होनी चाहिए। लेकिन मेरे तरफ से आप निश्चित रहिए, मैं तो एक बार मनमोहन सिंह को कहा कि मैं असली सरदार हूँ, तुम तो असली मद्रासी हो। क्योंकि जो जो वीरता है सिखों का, और जो आपने अपने इतिहास है, उसको सबको पढ़ाना चाहिए हमारे देश में और बताना चाहिए। और इसीलिए मैं, जैसे मुझे इनविटेशन मिली, मैंने कहा मैं तुरंत आऊँगा, और आपने मेरी बात को ध्यान से सुना, उसके लिए धन्यवाद।
डॉक्टर साहब, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका। टाइम नहीं है कुछ भी कमेंट करने का। सिर्फ एक बात कहूँगा कि अगर ये प्राइवेट मेंबर्स रेजोल्यूशन ऑफ पार्लियामेंट में ला रहे हैं तो हम भी उसके लिए लॉबिंग करेंगे। हमें भी बताइए जब वो आएगा, क्योंकि मैं जानता हूँ कि प्राइवेट मेंबर बिल कितनी देर में आता है, और जब डिस्कशन होता है तो कितने लोग उसमें पार्लियामेंट में प्रेजेंट होते हैं। तो देर हम उसके लिए लॉबिंग करेंगे। सिर्फ एक बात मैं कहना चाहूँगा कि सिख अपने साथ जो भी घटनाएं होती हैं उनको भूलते नहीं। जून 84 को भूलेंगे नहीं। अगर इस तरह के रेजोल्यूशन आ जाए तो वो माफ़ करने के लिए तैयार रहते हैं। तो हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि पार्लियामेंट ये रेजोल्यूशन, नवंबर 84 में बहुत रेजोल्यूशन नहीं पास किया, प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने माफ़ी मांगी, लेकिन हम उसकी भी उम्मीद करते हैं कि पार्लियामेंट रेजोल्यूशन पास करे जून 84 के बारे में भी और नवंबर 84 के बारे में, विच वुड बी। अब क्योंकि टाइम लिमिटेड है, मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूँगा
As I was listening to Dr. Swami, whom I have known since 1966 when we were both at Harvard, I particularly noted his remark that Guru Gobind Singh had broken the back of Mughal power. And immediately I was reminded of a poem on Gobind Singh by Tagore. It's about his reflection on his life and his task. It began thus: Ekdin Shik Guru Govind Nirjani Akati Bhabite Chela Apunar Bone Apon Jivan Kotha. That one day Sikh Guru Govind was sitting all by himself and reflecting on his life and his mission. Tagore wrote several poems on Sikh valor and Sikh sacrifice for the country, including one on Vande Bharat. That is why there isn't the culture of Bengal, an understanding of what Sikhs stood for, what their contribution to the country, and of course we have a very sizable Sikh population, not one of whom was touched during the riots in November 1984. The Congress, some of them took to the streets, bent on trouble. Jyoti Basu called for the army immediately. But even before the army could come, thousands of people took to the streets of Calcutta, even in a town like Durgapur, and the Congress workers did not know where they would hide. So I think I recall that with great pride. This is one state which has welcomed everybody, which had a Sikh minister, Sardar Gyan Singh Sohanpal. What I wonder is that why is this spirit not prevalent everywhere else? Sikhs are much more known in North India than in Bengal. Why? But let that be. That's a longer discussion. I would, if I get digressed into that. The present subject, that whether the Operation Blue Star could have been avoided, would get sidetracked. And my statement is simple. Operation Blue Star could and should have been avoided. It should never happen. Even if we accept that everything that is said about Gurudwaras is right, that he was this, he was that, he was this. Operation Blue Star would have been avoided if two things had been done. If he had been arrested before he and his supporters could establish themselves in the Golden Temple complex. B, if he was not allowed to fortify his positions in Golden Temple complex and not allowed to carry arms. Why? Why was this not done? Two things that struck me. On two occasions, he could have been arrested. One was his trip to Bombay in April 1982. I was in Bombay at that time, resident editor of the Indian Express. And I was told that on the 19th of April 1982, he was to be arrested from Guru Singh Sabha at Dada. Last moment an order came and he was not arrested. Why? And not only that, he was allowed to come back to Mehta Chowk, driving all the way from Punjab with his armed followers. If he was all that is being said about him, why was he not arrested then? A clue to the answer was available in August 1982. Gurudwaras was invited to come to Delhi by Jatedar Santokh Singh. And Jatedar Santokh Singh was reportedly very close to Indira Gandhi and Gyani Zaid Singh. He came here, he sat inside a bus, his supporters armed sat on the roof of the bus, and they were going about. Three persons thought that this wasn't the thing and something should be done. They were one, T.N. Chaturvedi, the Home Secretary, two, S.L. Khurana, Lieutenant Governor of Delhi, and three was P.V. Rajeshwar, who was the Director of Intelligence Bureau. There was confabulation. Khurana said that he ought to be arrested. Then there was a discussion what would happen if there was clashes. Matter was referred to Mrs. Gandhi and Khurana was summoned by Mrs. Gandhi. He said, Mrs. Gandhi said, what happens if Gurudwaras is hurt, if he is killed? Khurana's view was that he would not be killed because he was inside the bus and they would take care to ensure the conflict was kept at the lowest possible level. But that night, and the decision was taken to arrest him. But that night, somebody leaked out the information to Gurudwara. He went to Majnu ka Tila Gurudwara at the outskirts of Delhi. From there, he left for Punjab the next morning. Who leaked out the information? It was, according to the Intelligence Bureau, somebody very close to Gyani Zain Singh. Now, there is a pattern in all this. And the pattern becomes the second thing that strikes me. Even if you did not arrest him, was Blue Star necessary? Was it not possible to ferret him out from the Golden Temple itself before he had established those fortifications and fully armed himself? There was an occasion when this could have been done. When D.I.G. Atwal was murdered in the Golden Temple complex in April 1983. Was not done. So, on the one hand, we are told that here was a dreaded terrorist, here was a this and that. On the other hand, we have this peculiar scenario where nothing was done to arrest him or take care of him. First thing, why? If one remembers, after defeat in the 1977 elections, Mr. Sanjay Gandhi hit upon a very bright idea that one needed to create a Sikh holy man to take on the Akalis. And one of his advisors, I am told, had told him that Pratap Singh Kairan had created son Fateh Singh to fight Master Tara Singh and the Akalis. So you need somebody like him to teach the Akalis a lesson. And Sanjay was furious because during the emergency, it was the Akalis and the Sikhs who were the most active in protest. As Dr. Swami said, Punjab jails were overflowing. And Sanjay knew that this category of people could not be controlled, could not be bridled. So it has something sinister had to be done. Now, he didn't think it was sinister, I think it was sinister. But then something had to be done to put the Akalis in his place. And so you needed somebody to take them on. So Gyani Zain Singh began a search. And then he said, Bhindranwale is your man. Sanjay said, try to build him up. And Bhindranwale, initially there was some very major differences between Bhindranwale and Akalis. 1982, 13th of April, Vaisakhi Day, in Amritsar, there was a clash between the Nirankaris and Sikhs. 13 Sikhs, if I am not wrong, were killed. 1-3. And then Bhindranwale was furious. At that time, Prakash Singh Badal was the chief minister, and he was outside there. Bhindranwale was profoundly angered by this clash, lashed out and said, how is this that 13 Sikhs to be killed when the Akalis are in power in Punjab? Chief Minister, please explain. Chief Minister came back, suspended some police officers, took some action, I think arrested Nirankari Baba and banned the outfit. But Bhindranwale was not satisfied, and there to and fro went on. And Congress, of course, was very happy. But then something happened. In August 1982, Bhindranwale was beginning to see things about the Congress and joined the Dharm Yudh Morcha, which the Akali Dal had launched, I think in July 1982, protesting against the excavation of the Satluj Yamuna link canal and in support of the Harmandar Sahib resolution. So once again, for the first time, there was a combined opposition to what Congress stood for by Bhindranwale and the Akalis. And then, of course, all hell broke loose. The man who could till then do no wrong began the villain. By that time, Sanjay Gandhi was not there. But people like Fotedar, people like Zar Singh, people like Bhutta Singh, people like Thawan were all there. Now, if you see, the first signs of a change began in 1982. And things with Mrs. Gandhi were searching a way what to do. And that quest took her to where? To Margaret Thatcher. And there was a plan at her behest, through Margaret Thatcher, by Special Air Services of the British Army, the famous British Commando Force, Special Air Services, SAS, for a commando attack on the Golden Temple to winkle out Gurudwaras. This was presented to Mrs. G in April 1984. Present there was Director General Security RAW, Mrs. Gandhi, and, if I am not wrong, R.M. Rao. The plan was simple. 2 helicopters would go to the Golden Temple. There were 200 commandos trained who would rope down and capture Bhindranwale. Then another set of commandos would come in through the main gate, and then they would take Bhindranwale away. As this was going on, Mrs. Gandhi asked, what about casualties? Then the DG, Director General Security, said, both helicopters and 20% of the commandos. Then she said, how many civilians? The commander said, the Director General said, I can't say. Mrs. G said, no, too risky. That was cancelled. But then came Operation Blue Star. Why? We'll come to that presently. We can only have speculations about why. Because one doesn't, nobody really knows. One theory is that she got information, or she was told that Bhindranwale was in touch with Pakistan, that on a certain day, I think on June 3 or 4, they would call for a secession. Congress, all Congress MLAs and MPs in Punjab would be attacked, and Pakistan would invade. I don't know whether she really believed or not, but this was apparently. Now, trouble with the Congress and trouble with what happened in those periods, there are so many versions, so many people peddling so many lines, that one doesn't really know what to believe or the truth of what was being said. But apparently, unless something so drastic had been conveyed to her, I can't see how an utterly outrageous thing like the Operation Blue Star could be planned. Who granted this to her? Anybody who knew the realities on the ground would think that such an elaborate scenario with involving coordination between Bhindranwale, coordination between Pakistan, coordination between, and of course there will be general rebellion in the whole of Punjab. That this is something which I think required a lot of imagination, but which would perhaps be very difficult to ensure on the ground. But there was a level of panic. Operation Blue Star was the result of several things. First, an attempt to build a counter to the Akalita in the most unscrupulous manner. Second, when that attempt failed, and it was harmed. Now, if to Congress, Jarnail Singh Bhindranwale was a Frankenstein monster to Congress, because they tried to create something and something else happened. And I sometimes wonder, what did the Congress really expect? What could really account for this? I can understand the plan. I can understand creating a holy man to fight the Akalis. I can understand it's a part, Fateh Singh, Master Tara Singh, it's a part of their tradition. But to go to this extent, did something get out of hand?